The interstellar culinary exchange at the galactic crossroads station was the kind of event that made even the most seasoned chefs nervous. It wasn't just the prestige of participating or the chance to showcase one's skills, it was the sheer diversity of palates in the audience. What dazzled the gelatinous Gorgathians might repulse the ethereal tastes of the crystalline Silithians. For chefs, it was the ultimate challenge and the ultimate stage. Among these gastronomic titans stood Earth's representative, Chef Riley Carter. Dressed in a patched-up apron and mismatched shoes, Riley didn't look the part of a culinary ambassador. Their booth was an eclectic mess of mason jars, bubbling crocks, and handwritten signs. Where other stalls gleamed with futuristic precision or pulsed with alien bioluminescence, Riley's setup looked like someone had upended a flea market and decided to start cooking in the aftermath. To most of the galaxy's culinary elite, humans were a species that simply didn't make sense. They fried things, they froze them, they roasted, boiled, pickled, and pureed. They mixed sweet with salty, added sour to spicy, and sometimes layered all four into a single bite. But the strangest and most horrifying aspect of human cuisine was what they called fermentation. They willingly ate food that had been left to decay, inviting bacteria and molds to reshape it into new and often pungent forms. Riley, unbothered by the side eyes and murmurs from their peers, was in their element. "All right, folks," they called out to the growing crowd of curious onlookers. "Gather round. Today's special is a classic, kimchi. It's spicy, it's crunchy, and it's alive." The word alive elicited a collective shudder from the front row. One Silithian gastronome whose crystalline body caught and refracted light like a living prism recoiled visibly. "Alive? That's appalling," they declared before fainting in a melodious chime of disapproval. Riley didn't miss a beat. They held up the jar of vibrant, fiery red cabbage and grinned. "It's not alive like it'll crawl out and attack you. It's alive with probiotics. Good for your gut, good for your soul." From the back of the crowd, a commanding voice cut through the murmurs. "Good for your species, perhaps, but for anyone else? I doubt it." Chef Xylo emerged, their iridescent exoskeleton shimmering under the station's lights. A culinary legend from Chlorothi Prime, Xylo was known for their meticulous approach to food. Every dish they crafted was a masterpiece, a blend of precision and artistry that earned universal acclaim. Where Riley thrived on chaos, Xylo thrived on order. It was clear they saw Riley's work as an affront to everything they stood for. "This concoction," Xylo said, gesturing disdainfully at the jar, "looks spoiled." "It's fermented," Riley corrected, with the patience of someone used to explaining this distinction to skeptics. "Big difference." "And that difference is?" "It tastes incredible," Riley replied with a wink, popping open the jar and filling the air with the sharp, tangy aroma of kimchi. Xylo tilted their head, their 6 glowing eyes narrowing skeptically. "It smells like decomposition." "Exactly, that's how you know it's working," Riley said, grabbing a pair of chopsticks and deftly scooping out a piece. They held it up triumphantly before popping it into their mouth. Perfection!" The crowd murmured nervously. Xylo's antennae twitched. "Fine for you, perhaps, but I doubt a Chlorathian palate could endure such an aggressive flavor." Riley grinned. "Only one way to find out. Care to try?" The suggestion sent a ripple of gasps through the crowd. It was unthinkable. A challenge, even. Xylo, the epitome of culinary refinement, tasting something so primitive? Yet the challenge hung in the air, unanswered. "I will not," Xylo said firmly. "My reputation is built on sophistication, not this." Undeterred, Riley turned to the crowd. "All right then, who's brave enough to give it a shot?" A gelatinous Gorgathian stepped forward, wobbling slightly. "I'll try," they said, their voice trembling but resolute. Riley handed them a piece of kimchi with a flourish. The Gorgathian hesitated before slurping it up. For a moment, their gelatinous form quivered, as though processing the new experience. Then they brightened, literally. Their body glowed with an iridescent sheen, a sure sign of delight. "It's incredible," the Gorgothian exclaimed. "Spicy, tangy. It's like a dance party in my pores." The crowd erupted into a mix of cheers and horrified whispers. Emboldened, a few more spectators stepped forward to sample the strange fermented offering. Each new reaction added to the cacophony of debate. Some loved it, others grimaced, but no one was indifferent. Chef Xylo watched the unfolding spectacle with growing irritation. It wasn't just that Riley's food was garnering attention. It was the chaotic, unorthodox energy that seemed to defy all logic and convention. Something about it was unsettling. As Riley handed out the last of the day's samples, they caught Xylo's gaze. "You're sure you don't want to try? You might surprise yourself." "I do not need to try it to know it's inedible," Xylo replied coolly. "But perhaps the galaxy needs a reminder of what true culinary excellence looks like." Riley raised an eyebrow. "Oh? Got something planned?" Xylo's antennae twitched, signaling their intention. "I will arrange a duel, a proper competition. You may have charmed this crowd with your theatrics, but let us see how your fermentation stands against true artistry." The crowd gasped again, and Riley's grin widened. "A duel, huh? Sounds fun. Bring it on." And just like that, the stage was set for an intergalactic culinary showdown. Earth's scrappy, unpredictable fermentation versus the meticulous perfection of Clorathian cuisine. It wasn't just a competition. It was a clash of philosophies. For Riley, it was an opportunity to prove that chaos had its own kind of beauty. For Xylo, it was a chance to restore order to the culinary galaxy. The announcement of the culinary duel rippled through the galactic crossroads station like a supernova. Posters depicting the two chefs appeared on every hollow sideboard, their contrasting styles exaggerated for dramatic effect. Riley's grin, a bit too wide and smudged with what was probably gochujang, faced off against Xylo's stern, regal composure. The captions played up the drama. Artistry versus anarchy, a battle for culinary supremacy. Riley's prep station, tucked into a corner of the event arena, was alive with organized chaos. Jars clinked as Gore, the gelatinous Gorgathian who had eagerly volunteered as sous chef, stacked them into haphazard pyramids. The air smelled sharp and tangy, a mix of miso, soy, and the unmistakable funk of fermenting vegetables. "Do you think they'll like it?" Gore asked, holding up a jar of bubbling kombucha, like it was a sacred relic. "They'll love it," Riley replied confidently, massaging a pile of shredded cabbage and carrots with salt. "Or they'll hate it so much they won't know what to say. Either way, we win." Across the arena, Xylo's station gleamed under the overhead lights. Their tools were arranged with mathematical precision, every utensil polished to a mirror shine. Assistants, all six armed like Xylo, but noticeably less composed, worked silently under their meticulous gaze. Their chosen dish was a Clorathian classic, glowfruit nectar infused with hyperpure essences, paired with sun-seared Harathi slices arranged like an abstract painting. Every component was designed to dazzle with perfection. The arena filled with spectators. Beings from every corner of the galaxy jostled for a view of the culinary clash. The air buzzed with anticipation as the event's host, a floating mass of shimmering tentacles known as Grelfor, took center stage. "Esteemed guests," Grelfor's voice boomed, their bioluminescence flashing with every syllable. "Welcome to the duel of the century. On one side, Chef Xylo of Clorathi Prime, the pinnacle of precision and refinement. On the other, Earth's own Chef Riley Carter, whose unconventional methods have sparked both delight and outrage." The crowd cheered, though it was hard to tell which chef had more supporters. Xylo bowed gracefully, their exoskeleton catching the light in a dazzling display. Riley waved, nearly knocking over a jar of pickles in the process. "The rules are simple," Grelfor continued. "Each chef will present a dish to our esteemed panel of judges, representing the galaxy's most discerning palates. You will be judged on flavor, creativity, and Of course, presentation. The duel began with the clang of a ceremonial gong. Xylo launched into action, their 6 arms moving in perfect synchronization. They worked with the precision of a starship assembly line, each ingredient meticulously measured, sliced, or seared to perfection. The glowfruit nectar was coaxed into delicate spheres that hovered just above the plate, suspended by invisible fields of ionized air. The harathi slices, thin enough to see through, were seared to a flawless gradient of gold and crimson. Meanwhile, Riley dove headfirst into their own chaos. Cabbage and daikon flew into bowls, salted and squeezed until brine dripped from their fingers. Kombucha was strained, its fizzing liquid poured into tiny glasses. At one point, a jar of miso toppled over, splattering a rich brown paste across the counter. Riley scooped it back into the jar with a shrug. "Controlled chaos, Gore," Riley said, catching their assistant's worried glance. "It's the secret ingredient." By the time the judges approached, both chefs had finished their dishes. Xylo stepped forward first, presenting their creation with a flourish. The judges, a collection of beings ranging from feathered Hruvians to amorphous vapor clouds, examined the plate in awe. The glowfruit spheres sparkled like captured starlight. The harathi slices practically radiated sophistication. Each judge took a bite, their reactions subtle but positive. A Celethian critic, notorious for their harsh reviews, hummed in approval, their crystalline body emitting soft musical notes. "Impeccable," they declared, a testament to balance and precision. Riley stepped up next, carrying a tray of small bowls. The dish was kimchi jjigae, a spicy, bubbling stew made with fermented cabbage, tofu, and a rich broth that shimmered with flecks of chili oil. Alongside it, they served small cups of kombucha and a side of crispy rice crackers slathered with black garlic paste. "Here it is," Riley said with a grin. "Comfort food, Earth Estates. Dig in." The judges hesitated. The smell was bold, to say the least. The Hruvian judge, the first to gather their courage, took a sip of the soup. Their feathers fluffed out instantly, a sign of shock or possibly delight. "Spicy," they squawked. "Tangy! Alive!" The Celethian, visibly wary, tasted the kombucha. Their crystalline structure vibrated faintly, producing a low, resonant tone. "It is unexpected," they said. "Chaotic. Yet intriguing." One by one, the judges tried each component of the dish. Their reactions ranged from wide-eyed surprise to contemplative nods. By the end, it was clear. Riley's creation had made an impression. As the host prepared to announce the results, Chef Xylo raised a hand. "Wait," they said, stepping forward. "I wish to taste the human's dish." The crowd gasped. Even Riley looked momentarily stunned, before handing Xylo a bowl of the stew. Xylo sniffed it cautiously, then took a small sip. Their antennae twitched and their glowing eyes narrowed as they processed the flavors. "This," Xylo began, their voice quieter than usual, "this is not inedible." The arena was silent as Chef Xylo lowered the spoon. Their glowing eyes, so often sharp with judgment, softened just slightly. "It is unconventional," they continued, "and lacks the refinement I strive for in my creations. But it possesses a strange harmony. Each flavor stands boldly, yet together they form something entirely new." Riley smirked, leaning casually on their cluttered station. "That sounds dangerously close to a compliment." "Do not mistake observation for praise," Xylo snapped, though the tension in their voice had lessened. They set the bowl down with deliberate precision and turned to the judges. "Proceed with your deliberation." The host, eager to reclaim the moment, floated back to the center of the arena. Their tentacles flared with bioluminescent excitement as they addressed the judges. "Esteemed panel, you have tasted the best of both worlds. Now, it is time to declare a winner." The judges huddled together, exchanging murmurs and occasional gestures that defied comprehension. One judge, a sentient blob of reflective mercury, formed abstract patterns on its surface to convey its thoughts. Another, the gaseous entity, let out puffs of color-coded vapor. The deliberation stretched on, and the crowd grew restless. Riley turned to Gore, who was nervously jiggling behind the booth. "Relax," they said. "It's not about winning, it's about shaking things up, right?" "But don't you want to be named head curator?" Gore asked. "That title could make your food famous across the galaxy." Riley shrugged. "If people like it, they'll spread the word. Titles are nice, but they don't change what's in the jar." At long last, the judges returned to their seats, and the host raised their voice. "The moment has arrived. We shall now reveal the results of this historic duel. The winner and the new head curator of the Galactic Culinary Hall is—" The pause stretched unbearably long, the host reveling in the suspense. "Chef Xylo of Clorathi Prime." The crowd erupted into cheers and applause. Xylo stepped forward, their antennae raised high in pride. The judges presented them with a shimmering insignia that marked their new title. Xylo accepted it with a bow, their movements as precise and deliberate as ever. Riley, standing off to the side, clapped genuinely. "Congrats, Xylo. You earned it." Xylo turned to face Riley, their expression unreadable. "You are gracious in defeat, but I suspect you are not surprised by the outcome." "Not really," Riley admitted. "Your food's incredible. Mine's just different." Xylo studied them for a moment, then inclined their head. "Your food is more than different. It challenges convention. It forces the eater to think, to feel. That is no small feat." "Careful," Riley teased. "You keep talking like that, and people might think we're friends." "I assure you, we are not," Xylo said, though their tone lacked its usual sharpness. "But I have learned something today. There is value in chaos, even if I cannot yet embrace it myself." The crowd began to disperse, but Riley's booth remained busy. Despite their official loss, curious aliens flocked to sample more of the human's strange creations. Gore, overwhelmed by the demand, nearly toppled a stack of kombucha bottles in his haste to serve the crowd. Later that evening, as the station quieted and the chefs began to pack up their booths, Xylo approached Riley once more. This time, their demeanor was less formal. "Your techniques," Xylo began, "defy everything I have been taught, yet I cannot deny their impact. I propose an arrangement." Riley raised an eyebrow. "An arrangement?" "A collaboration," Xylo clarified. "You have a unique perspective, and I wish to explore it further. Perhaps we could combine our approaches, your chaos tempered by my precision." Riley grinned, extending a hand. "You know, I think that's the nicest thing you've ever said to me." Xylo hesitated, then clasped Riley's hand with two of their own. "Do not make me regret it." As they shook hands, the station lights dimmed in a nightly cycle, casting long shadows across the now empty arena. The day had ended with a loss, but Riley couldn't help feeling they had gained something far more important. A spark of understanding between two vastly different worlds, and, of course, a brand new opportunity to ferment the galaxy's culinary future, one jar at a time. The galactic crossroads station returned to its usual hum of activity in the days following the duel, but the impact of the event lingered. Riley's booth, once a curiosity tucked into a corner of the culinary district, had become a focal point for adventurous eaters. A line of beings stretched down the corridor, eager to sample Earth's strange, bubbling offerings. Riley had embraced the chaos. Gore scrambled to restock jars, his gelatinous form jiggling as he darted back and forth. A pair of Haruvians, feathers puffed with excitement, debated the merits of kimchi versus sauerkraut. Meanwhile, a gaseous food critic floated by, emitting pink puffs of approval as they sipped kombucha from a tiny vessel specially crafted for their vaporous form. In the midst of the bustle, Riley was attempting to explain sourdough starter to a group of crystalline Silithians. "It's like a pet," they said, holding up a jar of bubbly, beige goo. You feed it, take care of it, and in return it gives you amazing bread. A symbiotic relationship, one Celethian said, their crystalline body resonating in thoughtful tones. Fascinating, though the concept of eating something alive remains unsettling. It's more alive than you think, Riley quipped, offering them a slice of sourdough smeared with black garlic paste. The Silithian hesitated, then took a delicate bite. Their body shimmered faintly, a sign of approval. As Riley worked, they couldn't help but notice Xylo lurking nearby. The Chlorathian chef stood at a distance, their posture stiff as they observed the crowd with an unreadable expression. Riley waved, grinning. Come to steal some trade secrets? Chlorathian was drawn to the grill. Who is this? Xylo approached, their movements measured as always. I am here to honor our arrangement. Riley wiped their hands on their apron. Right. The collaboration. You ready to get your hands dirty? I doubt it will come to that, Xylo replied coolly. I have ideas. Oh, this should be good, Riley said, beckoning them over. Let's hear it. Xylo produced a small, elegant vial filled with a shimmering liquid. This is an extract of glowfruit essence, stabilized through a precise ionization process. Its flavor is delicate yet profound. Riley raised an eyebrow. Fancy. What do you want to do with it? I believe it could balance the brashness of your kimchi, Xylo said, their antenna twitching slightly. If applied correctly, it could elevate the dish. All right, Riley said, already reaching for a jar of kimchi. Let's try it. Xylo watched, their antennae twitching nervously as Riley scooped out a portion of the fiery red cabbage and placed it into a mixing bowl. Without hesitation, Riley poured a few drops of the glowfruit essence onto the kimchi and mixed it with chopsticks. Moment of truth, Riley said, holding out a piece of the newly enhanced kimchi to Xylo. The Chlorathian hesitated, then took the bite, their 6 eyes closed briefly as they processed the flavors. It is unexpected, Xylo admitted. The essence tempers the acidity while enhancing the spice. A passable experiment. Passable? Riley said, laughing. You're impossible to please. They spent the next few hours experimenting, combining Xylo's precise ingredients with Riley's fermented staples. By the end of the session, they had created a dish neither of them could have imagined alone. A fermented vegetable terrine layered with glowfruit jelly, garnished with pickled radish and black garlic. It was bizarre, beautiful, and oddly delicious. Not bad, Riley said, taking a bite. Not bad at all. Xylo nodded, their expression unreadable, but their antennae twitching in what Riley had learned to interpret as approval. It is. That's Xylo, I said. Word of the collaboration spread quickly. Soon, beings from across the station and beyond came to taste the fusion of Earth's chaotic fermentation and Chlorathian precision. Riley's booth expanded to accommodate the demand, with Xylo reluctantly taking a corner station to showcase their contributions. Despite their success, Xylo's perfectionism occasionally clashed with Riley's improvisational style. One particularly chaotic moment involved a batch of kombucha that had over-fermented, causing a minor explosion. Your methods are reckless, Xylo huffed, wiping a streak of kombucha from their exoskeleton. And your methods are boring, Riley shot back, laughing as they cleaned up the mess. That's why we work so well together. By the end of the week, the unlikely duo had become a sensation. Their collaboration wasn't just about food, it was about bridging cultures, finding common ground in the most unexpected places. As Riley and Xylo prepared for another busy day, Gore waddled over with a new shipment of vegetables. What's next? Gore asked, his gelatinous form quivering with excitement. Next, Riley said, glancing at Xylo. How about we ferment the unfermentable? Xylo's antennae twitched in alarm. I dread to ask what you mean. Riley grinned. Don't worry, you'll love it.